Hey 49er fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports. Before we start today's video, breaking down, yes, what was one of the more ugly losses for San Francisco we've seen in a very long time. We're going to get to all of that there. Let me know down below who is to blame for last night's loss. Is it a player? Is it a coach? Is it COVID? I mean, that was a whole mess this week. Gosh, it was rough last night. But let me know who's to blame down below, comment section. I'll give you who I think is going to blame a little bit later on. Let's start with our Week 9 overreactions here. Again, overreactions for what was, I think, not an inevitable outcome, but it feels like an outcome that was pretty much predicted this week just based on everything that was going on. We'll start with this one. Nick Mullens is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. How many of you said that? Raise your hand if you've been down in the comment section or on Twitter or DMing me on Twitter, at @RealThomasMott, by the way, follow me, saying, Thomas, Nick Mullens is the savior. He's going to be so much better than Garoppolo. Raise your hand. Anyone out there? Because guess what? It wasn't me. I've been telling you for weeks, for months, maybe even over a year, Garoppolo is the best quarterback on this roster, and he is. Like, did you really think that Nick Mullens was going to just waltz right in there and dominate? Now, listen, let me just say this. Mullens wasn't terrible last night. He had very poor offensive line play. Obviously, he had a complete lack of weapons. He had some nice throws early on. The touchdown to the almost touchdown to the tight end, the back of the end zone was a great throw. Tight end's got to catch that ball. He wasn't terrible, but he's also a backup quarterback, and that's what I've been trying to emphasize here. There's a reason Garoppolo is the starting quarterback, or at least was when healthy, because he's better. Kyle Shanahan knows that. He gives the Niners the best chance to win. Now, the argument that San Francisco needs a whole brand new quarterback in 2021, not Garoppolo and not Mullens, I can listen to that. You know, if you want to really, listen, we can talk about that. But the idea that Mullens is the savior, is going to be better than Garoppolo, is not even really remotely possible, and it was shown last night. Now, he can still win games. He can still be, a solid quarterback this year. He's a good backup. I've said that. But this whole thing that Garoppolo is terrible and Mullens needs to be the starter, to me, was disproven last night. But, I guess people have to kind of wait and see what happens going forward. Drop a like if you guys miss Jimmy Garoppolo. For my Jimmy Garoppolo appreciative people out there, for those of you who love Jimmy Garoppolo, give this video a thumbs up right now. I'm going to like it myself because I do miss him, and I think he would make a big difference in what the Niners would do going forward if he and his weapons were healthy, which is obviously a whole different issue. So drop a like. Okay, next overreaction here. The secondary is a problem. Yes, 100%. The secondary is a massive problem. And I have a hard time gauging how to think about the 49ers secondary because it's done this all year long. Has its highs and dips down and has its lows. They have had great games. They have had bad games. Last night was the worst game we've seen. I mean, Emmanuel, Moseley, and Jason Verrett got absolutely obliterated and abused by Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers was balling out first off, which we do have to understand, right? I mean, the Russell Wilsons of the world, the Tom Brady's of the world, the Aaron Rodgers of the world, they're great players. I mean, some of these throws to Devonte Adams last night are unbelievable. Like, you can't guard that. But still, Devonte Adams went off. They threw Moseley at him. They threw Verrett at him. They threw safeties at him. No one could guard Devonte Adams, and this is a problem for San Francisco. They have a lot of issues, and again, we understand this. If they were healthy, this would be, to me, a completely different football team. But the team they have right now cannot rush the passer, and they have an absolutely abysmal secondary. I wouldn't be surprised right now, right? Quote me on this. That corner is the top pick in the draft for the Niners in 2021. We're way too far away from that, but I would not be surprised because right now, there's no answer. And I was shocked at how bad Moseley was last night. And Verrett, too. I praised Verrett. Last night, he was terrible. Last week, he was good. I mean, it's just like, can we get some consistency on the backside of this defense? Man, it was rough. I mean, Rodgers was great. We got to give respect because he's a bad man. He's probably one of the top. He's obviously a top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. But last night was one of the best games we've seen from him. Probably this entire year. Just the throws he was making to Devonte Adams. And Adams, respect there too. One of the top receivers in the game. Probably the best receiver in the NFL right now. Okay, before we keep going here, I know the Niners, they're struggling. You can still bet, though, on the Niners or bet against them or bet on games this Sunday with our friends at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/49bet. Use the promo code Niners125 for a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up. You could have bet against the Niners last night and won money, so there's always chances to win here with our friends at BetUS. Okay. This is the real conversation today and what people are saying. I see a lot on Twitter. Overreaction after the Thursday loss. Injuries are to blame. Well, yes and no. So I don't know if we blame full-on injuries, but this whole COVID thing was a mess this week. We'll get to that in a second. But obviously when you're missing Raheem Mostert and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams and obviously all the defensive players as well. But really, I mean, the Ayuk, the Samuel, the Williams, the Mosterts, I mean, this offense went from being so dangerous and so scary to being absolutely, I mean, meh. It's a very meh offense right now. And you have backup quarterback trying to throw to backup receivers and backup running backs and backup left tackles. What do you expect? Now, we need to touch on this Kendrick Bourne false positive thing because this is the one problem with the COVID stuff this year is that if you have a positive test, they will just immediately, basically not let you play that week. You got to get multiple negative tests after that. And we learned later on that Bourne was negative, and a lot of the, a lot of all the other players like Ayuk, who had to go down because of contract tracing, are all fine and should have been allowed to play last night. But due to, of course, the COVID policies, which are there for a reason, obviously they've done a good job this year because the NFL season is still going on. But that false positive really screwed over San Francisco. I mean, it was bad. Now, losing Bourne is not the real issue. It's all the people who were out due to COVID or contract tracing because of it. I really wish they would have pushed this game back to Sunday or Monday, but apparently Kyle Shanahan said in the post-game press conference last night that they didn't even discuss that. So the Niners had to play with one hand tied behind their back, and you saw the result. Now, quickly, TARTT went down with a foot injury here, and K'Wan Williams now has the whole high ankle sprain thing, and so those are injury updates that we'll keep you guys updated on as the days and weeks continue. One final thought on the whole injury stuff is Trent Williams has been bad this year, but he has not been as bad as Justin SKULE was last night. I mean, the second-year left tackle, who I thought was really good at times last year, was abused last night. I mean, both the sack and the sack interception and the fumble were both on SKULE's side, and he could not pick up blitzers. For as up and down as Williams has been, man, I missed him last night because Justin SKULE really, really struggled. Let me ask you guys this. Did the injuries and COVID really kind of screw over the 49ers this week? I know that obviously injuries have done that all year long, but the whole COVID scare, which again, I get the reasoning. Obviously, I'm not going to dispute the NFL's decision to sit because that's the policy, and we've seen that work all week long. But I'm telling you, if COVID had not run wild through this team, or even this game had not been on Thursday night, they might have had at least a bit of better chance. So you guys agree, let me know in the comment section down below. And also stay subscribed, because I think San Francisco, for next week, to get a little mini bye here, 10 days off, we'll be getting a lot more healthy as the days and weeks come up. So we'll keep you guys updated on all the latest injury news if you guys subscribe down below. Final overreaction here. Let's do this. A lot of people are saying there's no bright spot to just getting obliterated last night. That's an overreaction. There were some bright spots last night. None brighter than Richie James Jr., who, yes, had a very bad drop on third down, and we can rip him for that. But this was like a coming out party for Richie James Jr. I mean, 9 catches, a $184, and a touchdown, 13 targets. Can we just take that Richie James, Control-C, copy, and then paste it every game from here on out? Because if you had your receivers, Ayuk has been really good this year, Samuel comes back healthy, and then this Richie James Jr., I mean, come on, like that's pretty good compared to what we've had. So James Jr. was a really, really big bright spot last night, and we got to give him credit where credit is due. And I also thought that Jerick McKinnon played well. They did not run Hasty a lot, which to my fantasy team's disgust was very disappointing, because I don't think that they trust Jermichael Hasty even after a couple of back-to-back good games. But McKinnon had a pretty decent game, and I thought that he ran the ball better than we've seen him do the past couple of weeks, because I've been up and down on him. They need Mostert back. I mean, that's just a simple fact here. But I think McKinnon and Richie James Jr. were both very good last night. We got to give them a thumbs up at least for that. Okay, the other thing we need to quickly mention here is the NFC playoff picture. People are going to want to say the season is over, 49ers are terrible, get off the 49er playoff train. The answer is no. Here's your current wildcard teams. Remember, there are 3 wildcard teams, 5, 6, and 7 seeds. Right now, the Saints are your 5 seed, the Cardinals are your 6 seed, the Rams are your 7 seed. That means the Niners are battling the Rams, the Bears, and the Cardinals really to try to tweak into the postseason. And yes, the Bears are 5-3 and the Niners are 4-5. Chicago loses this week. The Rams lose this week. The Saints play the Bucs. They lose this week. The Niners are only 1 game out, and they obviously play the Saints coming up here, and they're going to play the Rams again. And so they will have their chances to make the postseason. And if they can get healthy, which is a massive if, I mean, it's a huge if, but if they can, I think this team is obviously going to have a shot to squeak in, maybe be a 7 seed. And you know what? Who knows? If you're healthy in the postseason, you can put a little run together and win some games. Your next couple of games, obviously, you've seen this before. Saints, then the bye. Hopefully the bye gets them really healthy. Then Rams, Bills, Washington. I mean, Dallas comes up a little bit later on as well. So there's some winnable football games. They can just get through the Rams. If they could beat the Saints next week, get a bye, and then get healthy, they're right back on track. They're 5-5 coming off of the bye, and then a big divisional matchup, probably a big wild card, technically, matchup, because they're both battling their Rams and Niners on November 29th. Obviously, we'll see what happens. I mean, this season is not over. It's a rough day. I understand that, but if we put the injuries, the COVID, the backups all into perspective, I think Shanahan's got his work cut out for him, but I think this team can still be a postseason team, and I will continue to say that until they are mathematically eliminated, which will not happen for a very long time. Now, will they bounce back next week? Y for yes, N for no. If you stayed this long in the video, I appreciate you. Let me know in the comment section down below. Hang in there, Niner fans. It was rough, but, I mean, what do we expect, right? I did not expect them to win this football game, and guess what? They didn't. All time we have for today here in the 49ers Report. I'm your host, Thomas Mott, signing off for the rest of your day.